Howdy ESSM 406. In this lecture I'm going to explain to you how the peer review process works. In the following lecture I'm going to explain to you how to find peer-reviewed journal articles, but in this lecture I'm going to explain to you what that means. A lot of students are confused by that. Professors may talk about it a lot, but we don't always explain it, so I'll try to clear things up in 5 or 6 minutes. So, what is a peer-reviewed journal article and how is it different from another source of information? It's important that you understand that most sources of information that exist out in the world are not checked. Some really good newspapers like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal may have fact checkers working for them who actually try to go out and check facts, although to tell the truth, they make mistakes quite frequently. Occasionally, some high quality magazines may have fact checkers, but in general, books usually are not fact checked. And other sources of information are not fact-checked. So what makes peer review distinct is that it is peer-reviewed. It is reviewed by other scientists who study the same topic. So, for example, let's say I've written an article about natural resource policy in Texas. I'm going to submit it to an academic journal. Now, academic journals are the institutions that perform peer review. And up until fairly recently, almost all academic journals were kind of like magazines. They'd publish a few times a year, some only once a year, some maybe 10 times a year or 12 times a year, and they'd publish an issue that would be full of articles. Articles are usually not that long, 20 pages, 30 pages. It's not like a book. They're reporting a single piece of research or review of research on a single topic. They're usually fairly concise and contained, and they are peer-reviewed. So I'm going to send my article off to this journal. It's going to land on the desk of the editor of that journal. The editor's job is really to facilitate the peer review process. He's going to see, just maybe glance at my paper. Okay, this topic, this is about, let's say it's about natural resource education. Okay, well, it's college education, and I know that there's several other experts on natural resource college education, and he's using a survey and this statistical technique, and I know some people who are experts in that survey or statistical technique. So he's going to send the article off to those experts, and he's going to not tell them who wrote this article. He's not going to tell me who these experts are. He's going to ask them, what's your opinion about this research? And their opinion might be, this is junk, don't publish it. 80 to 90% of research that's submitted to a good quality journal is going to get published. Is going to get rejected, Even higher in journals like Science or Nature or the Proceedings of the National Academy, they may publish less than 1% of the articles. A few very low quality journals may publish 50, 60, 70, 80%. But most journals, the peer review process means that they're going to reject a lot. So if they think that this is not up to the standards, they may recommend that it be rejected. And they'll usually say why. The statistical technique used is not appropriate. Other people have already studied this technique. This topic is not news. This is not new information. Or some other issue they may have with it. They may rarely recommend that it just be accepted as it is. But commonly they'll say, this should be revised and resubmitted. That means the editor will send it back to me and say, we think this might be good enough for publication with the changes recommended by these reviewers. So I'll get a list of everything the reviewers have recommended that I changed or that I double check. They may say, we think you're wrong about this. They may say other research has been done about this topic that you don't mention. You should mention this other research. They may say this statistical technique that you used in this one part is not correct. Why don't you try it with a different technique? Maybe you should add another variable. Test to see if this other variable is important. And I'll have to revise it if I want to get it published. I'll have to do what they say or explain why what they say is wrong. And I'll send it back to them. And this may go 2-3 times back and forth before they actually decide that this is good enough to be published. It's then put in a peer-reviewed journal, and these peer-reviewed journals are published. And so the peer-reviewed journals represent a process of fact, method, technique, and theoretical checking. Occasionally, this checking can be a problem. Sometimes we find that new ideas have a hard time, or very controversial ideas have a hard time getting published because people don't like new things. On the other hand, journal editors are very excited about publishing new ideas because the way a journal gets more prestige is by publishing articles that other people read and cite a lot. So there's a balance there. And if you have a new idea, there's usually a higher standard than if you're kind of building on an existing idea. This process isn't perfect. There's sometimes flaws in peer review, but it's much better than any other system that we're aware of for making sure that the information that we're getting in these journals is the most reliable. So that's why your professors want you to read peer-reviewed journal articles. There's also two different kinds of peer-reviewed journals now. There's conventional journals and open access journals. Open access journals, the person who's publishing the article pays the cost of publication, and then the article is free to anyone to use. Other articles you have to pay for. You're very lucky here at Texas A&M University. We have a wonderful library. They pay for us to have access to lots and lots and lots of journals. Pretty much every journal you could want, you can get access to here. So I really encourage you to use them, and in my next video I'm going to explain how you can find peer-reviewed journal articles.